city administrator is running a little late. He told me to just go ahead and get started, so, why don't we, turn it over to WCA and see what you got to say. Yeah, yeah.
My name is Max Murray. I'm a municipal marketer for Town and Country Disposal, which is also Waste Corporation of Missouri. I handle most of the city contracts and get involved on the paperwork and things like that. With me tonight is our district manager, Bob Mathis. He is over not just this section of responsibility, he has all northern Missouri. So he has a big territory, but he's the big stick that makes things happen. And then our regional sales manager, Tim Graham, is here. We had been speaking with Mr. Berlin, and we realized there's some concerns that may need to be addressed. We would certainly like that opportunity, as well as the information I had sent to Mr. Berlin as far as extending the current contract for another year. So we can start however it goes best. If you'd rather address some issues or what we're talking about.
Do we want to ask some questions? And
I think the main issue is issues, so in my opinion, start with the issue.
yeah, okay. Let's start with the issues. Anybody? Okay, Rick.
I'll start. Overall, I've been happy with the service.
Okay.
Overall. But when you get to the problem areas, now, I'm not counting bad weather where you just can't get here.
Mhm.
I'm talking about times when we've called and, well, we got a driver sick. I thought, damn, don't you have more drivers than one? And a truck broke down. Don't you have more trucks? I can see being late for those reasons. And I can see, but probably the worst is when somebody from the staff calls, yes, we're late, but we'll be there by 2 o'clock. Then you don't come. That's a problem, because I tell my people, my residents in my ward, if they call me or email me, we got it handled, they'll be here at 2 o'clock. But then you don't show up. And then most of the avenues here are just straight streets.
Right.
In my ward especially, what's that last street? Macon. And I live on 24th. I'll use myself as an example. And I live in the 800 block, which is the last block in the ward on 24th. But he starts at the 1400 block. He does the 14, the 12, the 10, and then we don't see him. He doesn't do the 800 block. He goes somewhere else. Now, why you would get off a straight street, I don't know, but this has happened many times on several streets. He'll do 14, 12, maybe not 10. And then he won't come back and do it later. Yeah, I don't understand that, neither do the people.
Sure.
Another problem is similar to that. He came down my street one morning, bright and early, nice, good, about 8 o'clock. And then the very next street, I kept watching, because it was during this time we was having trouble with getting the service getting good. It took him, I don't know where he went, but 6 hours later, he did come back and do 23rd. I don't have no idea where he went during that time. But these are the type problems. Now, I know there are more problems with the other companies, bigger problems. Like I said, overall, I like this company service. But I don't know, on that skipping blocks, it's very irritating. And it's very irritating. I'd rather you tell me when I call you that we won't be there today at all. We'll be there tomorrow. Okay, that's great. Something happened. Things happen. But that's the biggest thing. Tell us, just do what you say you're going to do. If you're not going to be there that day, tell us. But don't tell us you're going to be there later that day and not show up. Right. Because we convey that information out. So that's all.
Well, and may I respond to that?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm sure like every other city we've got, you probably get the phone call instead of coming straight to us.
Yeah.
Basically, we have the city divided into 2 areas. Trash service and recycle service is being done twice a week for each. I don't know if that's a routing issue, if maybe the 8th Street is on a different route, a different day. I do not know.
No, it's the same day.
Well, If we don't have now, I don't think I've ever seen it. What we should do is, number one, online, post the route areas. So if you have new people coming in, they can see what day their route is. Number two, with missed pickups like that, I'm disappointed to hear that. I think under Bob's leadership, we've gotten much, much better. Please understand, we've been through 3 management teams, and this is the first time we've got a winner. And these kind of problems and such are being addressed and being corrected.
No, I haven't had no complaints in the last few weeks. And I've had people tell me, well, it's getting better. And I
And-
said, you know,
And that's what we're hearing back.
Yeah.
We kind of had a perfect storm when we purchased Town and Country and merged the companies. So we've had it for 14 months, and I think 3 days after we bought it, DOT came in to do audits. And there were some issues. DOT stuff is mainly paperwork, but we had to work through that, and we had quite a high turnover of drivers. Now, our business is not rocket scientists, but it takes someone who is safe, who will come to work on time, and will complete their routes. So even though it's not rocket science, it's difficult, and it takes really, really good drivers. We may run through 3 drivers before we get one who can handle it. I used to drive a truck, so I know what it's like, and when it's cold, it's cold, when it's hot, it's hot. But Bob's been able to lead us through most of that. I think we're within 3 or 4 people being fully staffed, Bob? Within 3 or 4 people being fully staffed. So as you're seeing it improving, it will continue to improve. One other thing I want to make sure the city has on your website is our email contact. I really like, as I think you do, paper tracks. If someone has an issue, they can send an email and they'll have a copy of it. It also then lets us take that copy to the supervisor and say, take care of this, do it. Versus phone call, which granted it should work, but sometimes it doesn't. So we like using the email as far as those situations, but I think we're a lot more attentive to missed pickups, and we're in town often enough. It shouldn't be any big deal. Maybe we need to assign someone to check with City Hall daily, weekly, whatever works for the city. I understand we have issues, but we shouldn't have the same issue twice.
right.
If it's twice, then either we're falling down or something's happening after the truck goes by. But there shouldn't be any surprises either for the city or for us.
I think, I kind of watched the pickups for a while, and I think the young man, the mistake he made when he would skip a block is that he would start out doing the numbered streets, which run east and west. Then at a point, he'll jump to the numbered streets, the lettered streets that go north and south. Maybe in his mind, that's the route he wanted to do. Like just before he gets to my block, it's Knox Street, which runs down by Quick Trip. Maybe he jumps over and does those, then forgets to come back. But my suggestion to him is finish a street before he jump off of it.
Fully understand. I can understand that and understand where you're coming from, and I think that is just due diligence on our parts. If there's a reason he does it, we'll talk with the driver and find out.
Now, the young man doing it now is doing a great job, so
Good.
I don't know. There has been a couple of different ones, but,
Well, the staffing's always a challenge.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for coming tonight. Another issue that I've seen is the bulky trash.
Okay.
It seems like every month, somebody gets missed on a bulky trash. Now, I think what the city needs to do also is put out on our website and maybe in our Northtown Connection, what do they call that? The Connection. What items are permissible to be taken and what items are not. But it seems like almost every month, somebody gets missed on bulky trash. Like one lady had a cabinet out last month and it got missed. It did get picked up the next day. But, that's an issue. You're talking about the email. We've got a lot of older residents, and
Yes.
some residents don't have email.
Right.
And it seems like when we call, you get an answering machine. And I don't know if you have someone there to answer the phones or not, but I know I've called a couple of times and I've had to call whoever's in charge. And a couple of times they said, well, we'll try to get a truck out there in the next day or so or whatever, and I've made them aware of the clause in the contract, whereas if a pickup is missed within 24 hours of notification of the city, there is a clause for a penalty. And I've had to use that, and that's work to get the people out there, but I've had to use that instead of just, we'll get out there and do it. Now, in the last couple of weeks, I've been out of town, but I haven't received any emails, but it just seems to me, and this is nothing in affront to you guys or anything like that, but it does seem like there are some issues. Maybe they're going to get better, maybe they're not. But to be quite honest, I'm in favor of actually bidding this out to see what is available. When did you all take over Town and Country?
About 14 months ago, I believe.
14 months ago. And see, these on the call logs here, this complaint sheet, it seems like there's something every month and a lot of times every week. And that's been recent, November, October. There's one not on here, and maybe this was done before that, but like January 6th, I believe, there was an issue of, I've got it here in my phone, trash pickup on January 6th, 2017, that there was notified that some trash was missed at 5:53, and I'm not sure if they came back the next day or not, but it's just, to me, it just seems like we've had issue after issue, and I know that, some of the larger, it's hard to keep people, depending on, I don't know what you pay them or not, but, there's been some issues. Eric, I'd like to have that added on January 6th about, I think I texted you about that one. I don't know if this was done before the complaint
I
log
think
was.
this complaint log ends at the end of December, sir.
Through the end of December?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
all right, okay. But, yeah, the bulky trash is an issue. It seems like somebody always gets missed. There was a few issues with yard waste, but not as much. It's more of the trash, and some people on the same block, some people got picked up and some people didn't. Now, I try to tell my residents, get your trash out there by 7 a.m. in the morning. And a lot of them put it out the night before. That's what I do, so.
And that should be sufficient. You do have a good contract that gives you remedies and basically hit us with a stick if we're not performing correctly. But like you said, these other ones you've had, said you called on one bulky waste, we picked it up the next day, so we responded. How about these other issues that you're talking about?
Well, I think you've done a fairly good job of responding.
Okay.
when
They shouldn't
issues-
happen. I just got to
Yeah.
make sure that we do follow up.
For the most part, I think you all do follow up. I just think that, there are some issues that people do get missed, and it shouldn't happen. And especially, like Rick said, straight down the street, because anything east of Howell is on Monday and Thursdays. And I know with holidays, and Town and Country used to do work on holidays, and I don't begrudge anybody having off on a holiday. And I think, I don't know which holiday it was, maybe Christmas or what have you, that's fine, but I think we were notified like a day or two ahead of time. We need to be notified prior to that.
Yeah, obviously, we definitely need better communication for the city. I totally agree with that. And that's one reason I'd like to have, for those residents in town that do have computer skills, I would like to have the website on,
Or maybe a
linked to your
link
website.
Mhm,
Yeah.
right.
I do not do the routing, so I don't know. I'm just curious if these were any repeat addresses?
Well,
When you're talking about having problems every month or so,
I
is
guess
it the
we'd
same
have to look
address?
at the log. Eric, have you seen anything as far as repeats, or?
I don't know that we've done an analysis of specific addresses. I would say that for sure, most, at least from my standpoint, we hear a lot more problems with the avenues than we do any other part of town. So,
East
for whatever reason. Go ahead.
East 21st Alley has been a repeat.
There you go. So East 21st Alley, one area over there.
Anybody else? I noticed one of the, it says here, driver picked up trash bins and they were in the carport. They were not meant for trash, had items of value.
That
I
was
did
ac-
that.
It was actually former Councilmember Bruns who had
Oh,
that,
that was,
had that problem.
Yeah, I I don't know how much stuff I bought. And you think, why did they throw it in the trash can, you know? But-
Was that a case of going the extra mile backfired?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anybody else got anything? Bear?
Well, I personally get very few complaints from my constituents. You'll notice my address is on that list, and that was only because it was a bulky trash. And I just called Chris Cooper and say, are they picking up bulky trash today? And he said, yeah, they're running late. And sure enough, they were by later on, so it really wasn't a complaint, it was just an inquiry. So that really, I don't know how many more on that list are like that. Personally, I think you guys are doing for what you got to do and what you got to work with and trying to catch up and make up for this transition.
Yep.
I think you're doing a fine job. I hate to see, just this summer, was it Overland Park, where they had trash piled up, piles of trash in front of houses for weeks or if not a month or so. And I haven't seen nothing near that here, and
No.
I'm pretty sure we won't, so.
If you
I
did, we'd
don't-
be on a fourth management team.
Right. And you say you just recently got a new management team?
All right, we'll let Bob come and speak for himself.
Yeah, yeah,
He's in charge of the operational part of it.
okay.
But your response you got is the way it should be. You should be able to call us, and we've got radio, phone contact. We should be able to tell you we're running a couple hours late. We should not tell you we'll be there today and not show up.
Right.
That's not acceptable.
Mayor?
What time does your day start? Is it at 12:01 on Friday? Is it at 7 o'clock in the morning? Is it at 8 o'clock in the morning? Is it 9 o'clock in the morning?
Drivers in Kansas City start at 6:30 a.m.
So what you're saying then is the trash should be out by 6:30 a.m.?
By 7 a.m.
Yeah, 6:30 is when they leave the lot.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Good evening. My name is Bob Mathis. I'm the district manager for Missouri North District. Our drivers that service this area start at 6:30 a.m. at our office at 7801 East Truman Road, which is at 435 in Truman Road. So they'll do about a 5-minute safety huddle in the morning. They're required to do a 15 to 20-minute pre-trip on their truck to make sure it's safe to operate, and whatever drive time it is to the beginning of the route here in North Kansas City. So typically, if you have your trash out by 7 a.m., there won't be any problem at all.
That's the first I've heard of that because normally they don't come up in my area, which I'm up by the hospital until 9, 10 o'clock or even at 2:30 in the afternoon. And here last Friday they came at 7:30 and nobody had their trash set out and the truck flew up and down the street and then left.
Yeah, typically, we try not to change our service cycle throughout the route because that exact circumstance will happen. My wife did the same thing. Our guy didn't come down our street until 3 o'clock. Well, last week, he came down 10:30. She didn't have her trash out. So I told her, I said, 7 o'clock, trash needs to be out. But she didn't find that too funny. But at the same point, we try to be consistent because we don't want to create issues with missed service.
Thank you.
You might explain that you do have trucks and people here in the Kansas City area. You're not having to go all the way back to Harrisonville.
Absolutely, Mayor. As we spoke before the meeting, we have relocated anything from the KC metro area north to the old Manchester transfer station, if anybody's familiar with that, at 7801 East Truman Road. So we parked 45 fleet trucks at that location. So they'll leave and they'll go into the Kansas City, Missouri service areas. They'll come up into North Kansas City, Riverside, Platte Woods, Smithville, and now we go as far north as Platte City. So those routes are much closer than they used to be when they were 45 minutes to an hour away, when all the routes were parked at the Harrisonville location.
Are you still dumping in Harrisonville? Or-
We use the Manchester Traffic Way
Oh, okay.
transfer station as well, so we have two
transfer.
facilities here now that we can dump at. So again, my name's Bob Mathis. I'm the district manager. I relocated with WCA from Gainesville, Florida, a few months ago to come in and restaff our management team so that we could improve our service standards that we were lacking in due to the transaction of the Town and Country acquisition. As Max said, we are on our third management team. I've got another member of management joining us on Monday that will be responsible for this area. His name's Brady Reimer. He has worked with me in 2 other states. We're moving him here from North Alabama, So he'll be here on Monday, and I'd be happy to bring him by and introduce him to anybody that wants to meet him. He's a good guy. He'll get the job done for you.
Well, again, I appreciate you coming out. And for me, being a good steward for the city and trying to get, a quality price with quality service, I appreciate you coming out, but based on the past experience, I am in favor of just bidding this out. You may get the contract again, you may not, but I am in favor of bidding this out. I think we don't, know all our options until we look at all the options. So that's my recommendation.
When is this contract up for negotiation?
So the contract runs during our fiscal year, so October 1st to September 30th. The reason that we bring it to you so early each year is that if you were to decide tonight that you would like to go out to bid, this is an RFP that would take a while. We could develop it relatively quickly just using the one we did back in 2010. But we have to give 90 days notice to our current contractor that we're going to discontinue service. We need a few months to put the proposal out, get proposals back in, bring them to you for your consideration. So it takes a while on this one. So the answer to your question is the contract year runs from October to September. But if you were to decide tonight that you would like to have us bid this out, we would begin immediately.
Does it have an automatic renewal?
So it has, we are in a period right now where there are 5 one-year renewal periods at the discretion of the city council. We had an initial 5-year contract from 2010 to 2015. And then in 2015, the council said it would like to renew for 1 year. Last year, it said it would like to renew for 1 year. And now that decision is before you again.
Okay.
That'll go 2 more times, and then we will have to bid out the service.
Okay, thank you.
The opinion of my constituents that I've spoken to, they say they do not have any problems as of right now, but they are definitely interested in getting some bids, so I do support what Zach has to say.
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
My ward doesn't have that problem because we have another service, but I was in a business for many years that involved itself in selling a product and marketing a product, and I was always in favor of giving somebody a chance. Everybody makes mistakes, everybody messes up, and I know that you guys down there do have problems with your service, and so I can't really be too sympathetic with that because I'm not in that position. But I would probably be more in favor of seeing to it that we'll put your feet to the fire and make sure that it doesn't happen again. You mess with me once, that's my fault. Mess with me twice, that's your fault. So if it would happen again, I would be more than likely be in favor of seeing something else done.
If we say we want to stick with Town and Country this evening, is that just for 1 more year, and we'll talk about it again in a year, or?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I think they work through their problems, are working through their problems. And as somebody who, I didn't always live in North Kansas City. I worked for North Kansas City for 39 years. But having been a customer of some of the bigger, well-known trash companies, I don't think you'd be that pleased. I had a lot of problems with everybody I hired, and they're the big names. I don't have to name them. Everybody knows them. So I'm in favor of renewal, and just like Bill said, it's started fresh, with the problems of the past. They've been good for several weeks now. I see a difference, and I'm willing to work another year under the contract myself.
I'm just basing mine off the past problems that we've had. I know that you've got a new management team, but, we've had problems for a couple of years, and each year they come, we'll get it better. And it seems to get better around contract time, but after that, it kind of drops off. So I don't know if you want to call a vote, Mr. Mayor, but.
Oh, I would like to say something, seeing how I know a little bit about trash hauling. Everybody's got problems. Another thing that you got to take into consideration is these guys have got about, $60,000 worth of dumpsters out there, that if they go away, those dumpsters go away.
And, so if you get a new company, some of your smaller haulers flat can't afford to buy all these dumpsters and put them at your back door, you know, and, yeah, it's always kind of, you know what you got now, and you change, and you have no guarantees that these people are gonna live up to their word, you know, and well, I'm in favor of trying to give them one more shot, you know. Fred?
What do you mean dumpsters? You mean those,
Those
little
green-
bins?
Those green things.
Well, couldn't that be put in the, request for the bids?
Well, yeah, but you know, they've gotta be paid for. And when you're bidding that, you have to build in, and you know, if you don't get a 5-year contract,
It's not worth it to
no,
them.
it's not worth it, no. I mean, if we did go out again, would we start out with a 5-year contract?
I think that would be our recommendation, yes, sir. That would be up to council, but I think we don't, I don't know that we want to go through this every single year, every year. So we would certainly recommend bidding it out for a certain multiple year period.
Mayor?
Yes.
Just when you're done.
That's it?
Are you done?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, in Northgate Village, we don't have a ton of complaints. You know, occasionally something will happen and people will be irritated by it. Rightfully frustrated, I guess, but it helps me to understand, you know, that you're making the investment, you're relocating, you've got somebody else relocating, you're strengthening your management team. Certainly, as Zach indicates, we have had lots of problems the last few years, and it's been very concerning, you know, to especially some members of the council. But knowing that you guys are making the investment and you're here and you want to hear, you're giving us the names first and last of your main, you know, knowing that we're going to be like, oh, let's contact that person. So I think that helps me know that you've got skin in the game and that you'd be willing to go one more year, and we can kind of evaluate that and maybe get a little more of a fair evaluation of your
Yeah,
services.
absolutely. Brady's coming in from North Alabama, as I said. Eric, the operations manager over this area, I relocated from Memphis, Tennessee. And I also have an operations manager that works for me in the Harrisonville location that I relocated from Illinois. So we're all here to improve service to the city of North Kansas City, and I give you that commitment absolutely tonight.
What happens next year if you've got another management team? I mean, it seems like you're going through managers every year. What's going on with that?
I developed the new management team when they brought me in. The first group that was here wasn't successful in the acquisition transition. This is my 4th acquisition transition. It's what I do. So I bring it in, I develop a team, we get it in place, and we improve your service and our commitment to you.
I guess we'll get a consensus, but Crystal, can you make sure that in the minutes that my comments are noted about not renewal? Would that be possible? Thank you.
Well, I think you're probably gonna tell everybody here in a few minutes. I think I'll just make the recommendation that we renew the contract with the existing company. I don't know what the new name is.
Well, you still go by Town and Country
We do.
here locally, so.
Then I recommend we renew the contract another year with Town and Country.
Does that have to be a motion to do that?
Well, and a work session's always an unofficial, but if you were to
Right.
give me an unofficial vote, that would give us an idea if there's a council consensus.
You
Well,
want to know who
it's being
agrees?
suggested that we call the roll, so if you don't mind.
Call the roll.
Right.
Yeah, what am I saying yes
What's
to?
the question?
Or
This is to
renewal.
renew.
So this is this is consensus on renewing the contract for a year.
Yes to the consensus to renew the contract.
Councilmember Clevenger.
No, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart.
Yes.
Councilmember Stefan.
No.
Councilmember Farr.
Yes.
Councilmember Kistler.
Yes.
Councilmember Lodahl.
No.
Councilmember Pierman.
Yes.
5 yeses, 3 noes.
So if, again, it's always unofficial at a work session, but we'll take that as consensus to work on a renewal for next year, and we have some time to do that. So thank you for that direction. If I might bring up one thing that we did throw out some ideas to the Town and Country management last week, staff did, for things that might possibly be adjusted and they provided some feedback back to us. One thing that we did bring up, which Town and Country indicated it would give further consideration to, which may or may not affect, I suppose, the price of the contract, so that might be something I might want to bring back to you. But currently, what we do with yard waste is that the Town and Country dumps it near our water control plant, water pollution control plant. And our municipal services crews then order a roll-off when it gets to a certain point, and they load the roll-off. Our people load the roll-off, and then we call Town and Country, and they come and haul the roll-off away. And that's quite a bit of work for us, and Pat explained to me the history of it and why we do it that way, or why we used to do it that way, but it probably isn't something that continues to make good sense for us. So we've asked Town and Country if we could work on just having yard waste taken directly out of the city without this sort of transfer station kind of setup, and they've indicated that they would look at that.
Yes, we
And
will.
so I'd be interested in hearing back from you. If that makes no adjustment in the price you've offered us, that'd be great.
Okay.
If it does, let me know, and I can let council know, and we can consider whether to change that procedure.
Okay. We'll look at that. Max and I spoke about it briefly. I'd like to look at the disposal options. I know there's one off of 90th and Hickman, and I think there's one north of the river here, so let us identify some cost factors in that, and we'll certainly come back to you and let you know if there's an impact or not.
Thank you.
Might be a good goodwill gesture to not charge that.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
No, sir, not unless council has anything. Pat, did you have anything else on this?
No, sir.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I thought they made